There is a grain that defied every law of empire. It produces more protein than meat. It survives heat that turns corn to ash. It grows in soil where wheat dies. And for 8,000 years, it fed the largest civilizations in the Americas. Then, in 1521, the Spanish Empire declared war on it, not with soldiers, with fire. They burned every field. They severed the hands of anyone who planted it. They called it satanic. A grain that fed millions without permission, that grew without control, that represented power the church could not own, had to be destroyed. This is the story of the grain they tried to erase for being too sacred. Welcome to nature's forgotten vault. Before we open this vault, if these stories matter to you, the best way to preserve this wisdom is simple. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share these vaults with those who need to remember what we forgot. The Tehuacan Valley, Mexico, 8,000 years ago. Inside ancient caves, archaeologists found storage pits containing seeds no larger than grains of sand. Amaranth. Domesticated before corn, before beans, before the wheel. Our ancestors chose this plant first, not for sentiment, for survival. By 1000 BCE, amaranth was everywhere. The Maya grew it. The Inca cultivated it at altitudes where nothing else survived. But the Aztecs, they understood what it meant. In the Nahuatl language, they called it huotli. In Tenochtitlan, the capital city, 20,000 tons of amaranth grain flowed in annually as tribute from 17 provinces. Human carriers walked 20 to 30 miles daily on stone causeways, hauling it to massive granaries called petlacali. Amaranth wasn't just food, it was foundation. Studies estimate it provided 80% of the Aztec Empire's caloric intake, more than corn, more than beans. Fields of it towered 8 feet tall, crowned with brilliant crimson flowers that never faded. Amaranthos, the Greeks would later call it, the unfading one. The seeds were ground into flour for tortillas, tamales, and atole, a hot cereal that sustained armies. The leaves, richer in vitamin C, iron, and calcium than spinach, fed families through dry seasons. And the ritual use, that's what changed everything. During the sacred month of Huitzilopochtli, the Aztec war god, priests created something the Spanish would never forgive. And when Hernán Cortés saw it in 1519, he knew this plant had to die. The ceremony was called tzoali. Amaranth seeds were heated until they popped, tiny explosions of white grain, like miniature stars. The priests mixed them with honey and human blood from ritual sacrifices. They molded the mixture into statues of gods. Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird of the south. Tlaloc, the rain god. Life-sized figures standing in temples, gleaming with divine presence. At the end of the month, 200,000 people gathered. The statues were broken into pieces. Every family received a fragment. They ate it. They consumed their gods. The grain became divinity. Divinity became flesh. To the Aztecs, this was communion. To the Spanish friars who arrived with Cortés in 1519, it was blasphemy. It looked too much like the Eucharist, bread and wine, body and blood, except this was older. This predated Christ by millennia, and it was made from a plant, not controlled by the church. In 1521, after Tenochtitlan fell, Cortés issued orders. Every amaranth field was to be burned. Anyone caught cultivating it would have their hands severed. Possession of seeds, punishable by death. The Franciscan friars supported him. They called amaranth ungodly, pagan, full of sin. One wrote, "This plant must be extinguished, for it binds the people to false gods." So they tried. For 300 years, Spain waged war on a grain, but you cannot kill amaranth by burning it. Because Amaranth doesn't obey empires, it obeys physics. The plant itself. Amaranth is not a true grain, it's a pseudo-cereal, a seed that acts like grain but comes from a completely different family. There are over 60 species, but 3 dominate: Amaranthus cruentus, blood amaranth; Amaranthus hypochondriacus, prince's feather; and Amaranthus caudatus, love lies bleeding. Each one produces seeds smaller than the eye of a needle, pale cream, sometimes black, impossibly tiny. Yet inside each seed, a miracle. 14% protein by weight, higher than wheat, higher than rice, and the protein is complete. All 9 essential amino acids humans need, including lysine and methionine, which grains lack. The Food and Agriculture Organization calls amaranth protein superior in content and quality to traditional cereals. It rivals eggs, it rivals milk. 1 cup of cooked amaranth contains more calcium than a glass of milk, more iron than spinach, more magnesium than most grains combined. But here's what makes it impossible to kill. Amaranth is a C4 plant. Its photosynthesis pathway is so efficient, it can grow in 115 degrees heat, in drought, in soil too poor for corn. Its deep roots, sometimes reaching 6 feet down, tap water no other crop can access. Studies show amaranth uses 1/3 the water of soybeans while producing equal protein. It tolerates salt. It thrives at high altitudes. NASA researched it for space farming because it grows under stress conditions that kill everything else. And yields? 1 plant produces 1 to 2 pounds of seed in optimal conditions. An acre yields comparable to rice or maize, but amaranth doesn't need fertilizer, irrigation, or tilling. Plant it once, and fragments left in the soil regrow. The Aztecs called it a gift from the gods. Modern agronomists call it climate resilient. Both are right. A grain this powerful, this nutritious, this impossible to control. Spain spent 300 years trying to destroy it, and they almost succeeded. Almost. The erasure. By 1600, amaranth had vanished from most of Mexico. The fields were gone. The ceremonies were gone. Indigenous farmers who tried to save seeds were punished. The knowledge, how to cultivate it, when to harvest it, how to process it, began to fade from memory. Spain replaced amaranth with wheat. Wheat required European mills, European tools, European priests to bless the bread. Wheat could be controlled. But Spain made a mistake. They couldn't patrol every remote village, every mountain valley, every hidden plot. In Tulyehualco, Xochimilco, a community south of Mexico City, farmers refused. They kept seeds hidden in clay jars, buried under floorboards, passed down through families with whispered instructions. In the Puebla highlands, in Oaxaca, in scattered pockets across Mexico and Peru, amaranth survived, not as a staple, but as a secret. By the 1700s, it was mostly forgotten. By the 1800s, Mexico had become the land of corn. And by the 1900s, amaranth existed primarily as a weed. Quelite, they called it. A plant for the poorest families who couldn't afford real food. Once it had fed an empire, now it fed no one. But seeds don't forget. And in 1970, someone in the United States heard a story about a grain the conquistadors had banned, and they went looking for it. His name was George Madeljan, a nutritionist and food researcher. He had read about huautli, the Aztec grain that had been forbidden for 300 years. He traveled to Mexico. He asked elders. He searched markets. In remote villages, he found it. Small bags of pale seeds sold as alegría, a traditional candy made by popping amaranth seeds and mixing it with honey. The same recipe the Aztecs used to make their gods. Madeljan brought seeds back to the United States. In the 1970s, American universities began studying them. Agronomists at Iowa State University tested amaranth in fields alongside soybeans and wheat. The results shocked them. Amaranth out-yielded soybeans in protein per acre. It required no irrigation. It grew in marginal soils where conventional crops failed. One researcher wrote, "This is not a lost crop. This is a future crop." By 1980, a few thousand acres were being cultivated in the United States. By 1990, health food stores started selling amaranth flour. By 2000, it appeared in energy bars, breakfast cereals, and gluten-free products.
The grain banned by Spain for being too sacred was now marketed as a superfood, but the real resurrection happened in Mexico. In the 1990s, a biochemist named Mari Delano founded an organization called Tierra del Amaranto, Land of Amaranth. She worked with impoverished women in rural communities, teaching them to grow amaranth in small kitchen gardens. The Catholic Church, the same institution that had banned it 400 years earlier, supported her. Priests blessed new cisterns that made amaranth cultivation possible in drought-prone regions. In Tulyehualco, the community that had never stopped growing it, farmers began expanding production. They called it planting the ancestors, honoring the families who had kept seeds alive through centuries of suppression. In markets across Mexico City, alegría returned. Street vendors sold it alongside tamales and churros. Children who had grown up on processed food learned to pop amaranth seeds over open flames, just as their great-great-grandparents had done. And then, climate change arrived. And suddenly, a grain bred for drought and heat became the most important crop no one was talking about. Mexico, 2025. One study projects that by 2080, Mexico could lose up to 1/3 of its corn production to climate change. Droughts are intensifying, temperatures are rising, rainfall is becoming unpredictable. In the Tehuacan Valley, the same valley where amaranth was first domesticated 8,000 years ago, corn farmers are abandoning their fields. The crop that replaced amaranth is failing. But Juan Núñez, a 51-year-old farmer in the valley, is doing fine. He's been growing amaranth alongside corn for 30 years. While his neighbor's corn withers in 110-degree F heat, his amaranth stays green. Each day with corn is a risk, he says. Amaranth just grows. Globally, 90% of farmland is affected by climate-related stress. In some regions, crop production has dropped by 70%. Scientists are searching for drought-resistant, heat-tolerant, and nutrient-dense alternatives to rice, wheat, and maize. And amaranth keeps appearing in the research. Studies in 2024 confirmed amaranth thrives in temperatures up to 122 degrees F. It grows in saline soils where crops die from salt stress. Its water use efficiency, the amount of biomass produced per liter of water, is among the highest of any food plant. And unlike annual crops that require tilling, which releases carbon, amaranth can be grown as a perennial in some climates, sequestering carbon instead of emitting it. The United Nations has declared amaranth a priority crop for food security. The FAO calls it an underutilized crop that could significantly contribute to nutrition and health. In India, Kenya, Nepal, and Argentina, farmers are planting it in marginal lands where nothing else survives. In the Himalayas, it's growing at altitudes where wheat fails. In sub-Saharan Africa, it's being tested as a protein source for regions facing malnutrition. But here's what makes amaranth's story different from every other lost crop we've covered. This one was never lost by accident. It was murdered. And the reason tells you everything about what's coming. The Spanish didn't ban amaranth because it failed. They banned it because it succeeded without them. A crop that grows without irrigation is a crop you cannot tax through water rights. A crop that reseeds itself is a crop you cannot sell. A crop woven into indigenous religion is a crop that keeps people connected to something older than your empire. And that pattern repeats. Cannabis, banned because it healed without prescriptions. Sunchokes, replaced by potatoes that needed more labor. Tepary beans, erased by machines, mesquite, cleared for cattle. Every plant that enables self-sufficiency, that feeds without corporate chains, that resists control, systematically suppressed. Amaranth survived because indigenous farmers risked their hands, their lives, their freedom to keep seeds hidden. For 300 years, in clay jars, under floors, in remote valleys, waiting, not for permission, not for profit, for survival. Today, Amaranth is a $50 million global industry. Mexico is replanting it as a strategic crop. NASA is researching it for Mars. And every year, climate change makes it more essential. The grain that was too sacred to be allowed is now too valuable to ignore. But the lesson isn't just about amaranth. It's about what empires fear. They fear plants that don't need them. They fear knowledge that can't be owned. They fear people who remember how to survive without buying permission. The Aztecs built statues of gods from amaranth and honey. They broke them into pieces and fed their people. The Spanish called it blasphemy, but maybe it was prophecy, because amaranth still grows, still feeds, still refuses to die. The grain they tried to erase is still here, growing in fields, sold in markets, planted by farmers who never forgot. All it asks is that we look past the lies empires told and see what was always true. Abundance doesn't need permission, it just needs seeds. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Forgotten Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share preserves what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon.